Hello everyone, today I'm going to give you a tutorial on how to add buildings and objects of your own creation to the Homestead editor. Um, it's a very straightforward process. I try to make it as user-friendly as possible so that people don't have to learn to code to do so. So first off, let's head to our modules folder. You can find this on Steam with this path. If you're using something else other than Steam, I'm not too sure what the path is, so do not ask me. Just go ahead and Google it. I'm not too sure what they are. You want to make a new module in here, a new module folder. I already created one, Homestead Builder Test Edition. And you also want a submodule.xml set up in there. You can copy it from anywhere. I'll show you what mine looks like. It's very, very basic. You don't need any dependent modules or anything. You don't even need a DLL pointer or anything. Just make sure this name value is set, this ID value is set, and single player module is set to true, and it should be fine. So go ahead and pause this if you want. Copy this down. So we need those things. We got that set up already. If you don't, set it up. And then what we're going to do is we're going to actually open the modding kit. Now once you're in this modding kit, if you have a bunch of mods, you probably want to disable them. If you don't disable them in the modding kit, at the start it's going to send up a bunch of error messages, a bunch of windows that you have to close, and it's just super, super annoying, and I don't like to do it. Leave this, your new mod, leave that enabled because you want that. That's what you're going to be editing. And then press play. Alright, now that we're in the modding kit itself, we are going to make a prefab. Now, if you're not entirely sure on how to make a prefab or how to use the modding kit in general, this is not that type of video, unfortunately, for you. Please look up another tutorial that goes through some of the modding kit a little bit more in depth. Right now, I'm just going to make a prefab, and I'll show you how to do that. So we're going to be placing down a tent. I think I want to make a small little tent for the players to place down so that they don't have to just rely on that solely, those two big tents, or the one big tent I should say, one of them isn't public yet, to add space. So I think I want some smaller tents for some players. So, tent, I know exactly which one I want. This guy here, I'm going to place this down. Perfect. Want some beds in there. Now the beds are always humongous for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why. I'm not entirely sure what this yellow thing is either on my cursor, but I guess we'll find out. But anyway, they're humongous. So let's place down the NPC sleep animation so we get a good size comparison so we can actually scale the bed down. So as you can see, the NPC is like ridiculously small. They look like a child. So to scale this down, we're going to select it. There we go, whatever. I'm sure it's this yellow thing that's messing me up, but whatever. And we're gonna press and hold B once we have it selected. Okay, I think that's a pretty good size for the bed. Now let's do this NPC a little closer to it. Let's adjust him a little bit. Whoa, what the hell's going on? Okay, not too sure what this does. I hope it's not important. We're just gonna go ahead and put him over there. Okay, I guess it's just gonna stay there. I guess I'll cut that out. Alright, so I think that looks like a good position for him. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So now that we have this, what you want to do to this this animation here, this NPC animation point, what you want to do, the Homestead relies on these points to place the NPCs down. If you are very, very familiar with the modding kit, there are some things you cannot do with the Homestead. They do not work. I think paths is something that's in here for NPCs to like walk around and stuff. In Homesteads, NPCs cannot walk around. They can walk around. It's just that due to technical limitations with the engine and whatnot, the NPCs, if they were to walk around homesteads, they would just be walking into walls and everything because they have no idea that the things that you place there are there. And that is because when you're making a scene, if you are familiar with the modding kit, you probably already know where I'm going with this. But when you're making a scene inside of the modding kit, you have something called nav mesh. Now, nav mesh tells NPCs and AI where they can go and where they cannot go. And just due to technical limitations, there's no way to actually change the nav mesh with code. So therefore, NPCs inside of homesteads, they cannot walk around. So what you need for them instead is you need something with the script usable place. You don't need the script usable place, but that is what Homestead is made to use. So if you have a NPC point with a usable place, any Homestead NPC that is spawned on your spawn point will use that usable place. So now that we're here, we're going to make some changes to this actually. We're going to get rid of all these tags, and we're going to make a new tag. And we're going to name this one spawn point underscore homestead underscore NPC. So spawn point underscore homestead underscore NPC. Now that you have that tag, go ahead and press OK. That tag is going to be put on this animation point right there. or usable place, whatever you want to call it. Now that we have that, we are good. This Homestead NPC can spawn on this, and they will use it, and yeah. But I want to duplicate this bed, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this spawn point, and I'm going to make it a child of the bed, so that when we move this around, it won't mess anything up. There we go. Cool. Let's place it inside of the tent. Still not sure what that is. I think it's this, but whatever. Okay, this makes it a little bit harder to actually place things, but let's still do it. Hopefully in your tutorial or your, you know, thing, you don't have this annoying thing. I don't know what this does. So we have that. Let's create another bed. I think right there is good for them. Now that we have the beds inside, I want to place down some furs and stuff, make it look kind of homey. Alright, that looks good to me. I think that'll do it. So, now that we have all that set up, what we're going to do is we're going to make all of these things inside of the tent. We're going to make them children of some kind of parent. So now the parent object is going to be like the main centerpiece of everything. It's going to, you know, be what the mod locks onto when you're placing it. So you want to make sure that the parent object is going to be something that's pretty big, or it's at the center of things. So in this scenario, it's going to be the actual tent itself. So let's select everything else, the two beds, the mats of fur and everything, and we're going to just drag it into the tent. Just like that. There we go. Now everything is inside of the tent. Just like this. So now what we want to do is we want to rename this guy. We're going to call it whatever we want our prefab to be named. So mine is going to be Homestead Landian Tent Small. Just like that. And now we're going to go up here. Once we have everything inside of the tent, everything is saved inside of it. It is the parent object. We are going to go to the parent object and we're going to hit save as. And then over here, we're going to select whichever yours mod is called. My mod is Homestead Builder Test Edition right here. So let's go ahead and press OK on this. Save the new file. You don't have to worry about these options. Don't worry about these. Untick them if they're ticked. Now here, file name, we're going to name it whatever we name the parent object. So in my scenario, it's going to be Homestead landing intent small. There we go. We have our prefab saved now. If we go to the prefab add entities thing, and we search up for a prefab, it'll show up. Right there. Perfect, that's how you know you got everything right. Now before we exit everything, let's just make sure we have our animation points set correctly. You do that by inspecting, and then making sure the tag spawn point homestead NPC is there. If your spawn point does not have this tag, Homestead will not be able to pick it up, and it will not use the spawn point, so do make sure it is there. Okay, this all looks good. We can close the editor now. And then if you come over to your modules folder, you will have something called prefabs as well now, and you'll see your prefab inside. So that's how we know that everything is solid on this end. Now, you don't have to open any code. You don't have to open the modding kit. What you do want to do is you want to make or rather, just to make it really simple, go to the Homesteads mod, copy homesteads placeables.xml, come over to your mod and just paste it in. Now, you're going to go ahead and edit this. Now, if you don't edit this, nothing's going to happen on your side. All it's going to do is just make a bunch of copies of the stuff that's already in there. You're going to go all the way down to this first placeable right there. And just, oops. Goddamn push to talk. And just delete everything besides just one little placeable. So everything in between this placeable and the ending placeable right here, that's going to be your placeable information right there. Do keep in mind you need to keep this placeables and then this placeables on the top up there. That is so everything is grouped up into one. That's the only way for the mod to read anything. So you do need this exact setup of, they call them elements. So make sure everything is named correctly, spelled correctly, caps, capital letters, everything. Anyway, let's get to editing this. Tier required, that's going to stay at 0. Display name is going to be landing intent small. Description. There we go. Prefab name is going to be Homestead landing intent small. You will replace this with whatever you named your prefab. There we go. Build point is required. Let's make this 1. And space increase. I like to personally make the space increase however many beds I put in there. So in this scenario it would be 2. You can make these values whatever you want them to be. As far as I know, the code can even take negative numbers. They're not used inside of the mod, but you can put negative numbers if you really want to. So, now that we have all this stuff, I'm actually going to show you how to, real quick, make something that produces something. So this would be an example of like a grain farm. I know my grain farm produces grain, the sheep and the hog farm, they produce some things as well. If we go back into our, or rather the default mod XML, you'll find good examples on how to do this. So you'll have everything that I have in the placeable up there, but then you're going to also have this produce items thing right there. And you're going to put a produce item, and then whichever spawn ID the item ID is going to be. Make sure that you get this item ID right. If you don't get it right, it will crash the game after a while. So that's very, very important. So now that we have this basic thing here, we're going to launch it in the game. Make sure everything is set up exactly like this. You don't need a bin, you don't need anything like that, just this XML. Let's go ahead and launch the game. Okay, now that we're in the game, we're in our home, or my homestead of Iron Spike. It's a little test settlement. Anyway, walk around. When you click this button, the walk around, and you go to the loading screen, if you crash, you likely have something wrong with your XML. Double check your XML, everything is spelled correctly, all the values are set, everything like that. But if you do crash, that is why. So hopefully everything goes well when we load up. Perfect. People are naked. Let's go away from the naked people. Let's go over here. And now if we press P, we go into edit mode. And there we go. We have our blending intense small right there in the first one. And let's place it down. Wow, just like that. Okay. So now when we have our intense small, once you've placed it down in your settlement, NPCs won't spawn automatically. If you played the mod, you know this. What you need to do is you need to go back, and then you need to go back into the settlement. Yeah! So let's go over. Let's see if there's anyone in there. I think I see someone, yeah. I don't know why they're not using... Oh, I think I see. Let's try to help them along, maybe. It seems I've put the animation points a little too close to the walls, so now they're very, very confused on where to go and how to do things. So this is actually good to put the tutorial, I suppose. Don't put the animation points too close to the walls to where they can't reach it. It looks like that's where they're having trouble here. But otherwise it should work correctly. Yeah, that's how you add something to the Homestead builder. Hopefully it works out a little better than mine. I'll have to go ahead and edit this so that it's actually in public release correctly, and hopefully it works, because I actually do really like this tent here. But yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully this helps you out some.